So, you want to learn how to play chess? Awesome. Today, we're going to demystify this amazing game. Our goal? Super simple. Teach you all the basic rules in just a few minutes, so you can go from feeling a little lost to feeling confident enough to play your first game right away. Let's do this.
Yeah, I get it. Chess can look really intimidating, right? All those pieces, the big board, it seems like there are a million complicated rules. But honestly, the basics are surprisingly simple. We're going to break it all down step by step, and you'll see just how easy it is to get started. So here's our game plan. First, we'll cover setting up the battlefield. Then, you'll meet your army and learn how all the pieces move. After that, we'll go over a few cool special moves. And finally, we'll talk about the main mission, how to actually win the game. First up, setting up the battlefield. Before you can make any moves, you've got to set the stage. And getting this right is the first crucial step to every single game you'll ever play. Okay, so your battlefield is this 8x8 grid. The single most important thing to remember when you set it up is this. Make sure there's a light-colored square in your bottom right corner. There's an easy way to remember it. White on right. Got it? Good. You each get 16 pieces, and in chess, white always makes the first move.
So how do you arrange your army? It's easy. Your 8 pawns make a nice little protective wall on the second row. For the big pieces behind them, just start from the outside and work your way in. The rooks, the big tower-looking pieces, go on the corners. Then come the knights and then the bishops. That leaves 2 spots. Just remember this, the queen always goes on her own color. So the white queen on a light square, the black queen on a dark one. The king just takes whatever spot is left.
All right, the board is all set. Now for the really fun part. Let's meet the pieces. Each one has its own special way of moving, and once you get these down, you're well on your way to thinking strategically.
Let's start with the pawns. Think of them as the foot soldiers of your army. Now they have a special first move option. They can jump forward either 1 or 2 squares. After that, it's just 1 square at a time, straight ahead. But here's the part that trips everyone up. They don't capture the way they move. Pawns can only capture by moving 1 square diagonally forward.
Next up, let's talk about the rook and the bishop. The rook, or the tower, moves in straight lines. Think up, down, left, right, as many open squares as it wants. The bishop is like your army's sniper. It moves any number of open squares, but only on the diagonals. And a key thing to remember is that a bishop will always stay on the same color square it started on for the entire game.
And now for the trickiest piece on the board, the knight. It moves in a funky L shape. That's 2 squares in one direction and then 1 sharp turn to the side. But here's its superpower. The knight is the only piece that can actually jump over other pieces, whether they're yours or your opponent's. This makes it amazing for surprise attacks.
Okay, meet the queen. She is your commander, and by far the most powerful piece in the game. Why? Well, she basically combines the moves of the rook and the bishop. That means she can move any number of open squares in any straight line, horizontally, vertically, and diagonally. She is your absolute best weapon. And finally, the king. Now, the queen is the most powerful piece, but the king is the most important. He's kind of a slow mover, only able to go 1 square at a time in any direction. The entire game, your whole mission, revolves around keeping your king safe while trying to trap your opponents. He is the ultimate target. Okay, you've got the basic movements down. But now let's cover 3 special moves. Think of them as advanced tactics that let you bend the rules just a little bit to gain an edge. First is a move called castling. It's a fantastic way to protect your king, and it's the only time in the game you can move 2 pieces at once. Here's how it works. Your king slides 2 squares over towards a rook, and then that rook hops over to the square right next to the king. But there's a catch. You can only do this if neither the king nor that specific rook has moved yet, and the path between them is totally clear. Next up is pawn promotion, and this rule is a total game changer. If one of your brave little pawns makes it all the way to the other end of the board, you get to promote it. You can immediately trade it in for a queen, rook, bishop, or knight. And let's be real, 99% of the time, you're going to choose another queen. I mean, why wouldn't you want another powerhouse on your team? The last special move is a bit of a weird one. It's called en passant, which is just French for in passing. It's a pretty rare pawn capture move. Basically, if your opponent's pawn uses its 2-square first move and lands right next to one of your pawns, you get 1 chance on your very next turn to capture it diagonally, just as if it had only moved 1 square.
So you know the setup, you know how the pieces move, but what's the actual mission here? Let's get into our final section,
how you actually win the game of chess.
The whole point of chess is to get a checkmate. This happens when you attack your opponent's king, putting it in check, and they have absolutely no legal way to get out of danger. If that king is trapped with no rule-abiding escape routes, that's it. Game over. You win.
If your king is put in check, you have to get it to safety on your very next turn. No exceptions. You've basically got 3 ways out. 1, you can move your king to a square that isn't being attacked. 2, you can block the attack by putting one of your other pieces in the way. Or 3, you can capture the piece that's threatening your king. If you can't do any of those 3 things, well, that's checkmate.
Okay, this is super important to understand, the difference between checkmate and something called stalemate. With checkmate, the king is in check and can't escape. That's how you win. With stalemate, the king is not in check, but that player has no legal moves they can make with any of their pieces. If that happens, the game ends in a draw.
And just so you know, besides stalemate, a game can also be a draw if both players just agree to it, if there aren't enough pieces left on the board for either side to force a win, or if the exact same position happens 3 times in a game. So yeah, there are a few ways a match can end without a winner.
And there you have it. Seriously, that's it. You now know all the basic rules of chess, from how to set up the board to how to win the game. You know your army, you know the battlefield, and you know the mission. The only thing left to do is actually play. So the question isn't, how do you play chess anymore? The question is, what's your first move?